Every mountain biker has to make the choice when it's time to get a new bike. Do I get a fully stock build where someone else picks all the components on there, or do we go custom where you get to choose every single little bit? And neither's perfect. There's definitely pros and cons to both.
So in this video, I'm going to build a completely stock out-of-the-box bike, and Tor here is going to go on the adventure of building a fully custom bike. Along the way, we're going to explain the differences between the two different options, and we're going to ride them and kind of figure out, did we make the right choice? Did we not make the right choice? Let's get into it. 2-stroke Levo, live inventory.
I'm not a transmission guy. I'm an 11-speed guy.
Look at him, he's got the instruction manual out right now, and that's what we like to see.
I already have to uninstall the only part that I've put in right now. I've never greased my pedal threads.
Yo, I got a swap tool.
Now that's custom. Dude, I think I actually have to undo the other only step that I've done.
Oh my God.
And actually, I'm not even sure how to do this.
High five. Hey, I'm Mike.
And I'm Tor.
And we are doing something that we do every year or two. We build up a couple new bikes so that we can use some new parts and review some stuff, make videos, write blog posts for the website. We try to choose bikes that are relatable to the biggest size of audience. And so actually last year, I did a test where I did a Stumpjumper Evo build. I chose that bike because so many people ride it. It's like the #1 trail bike out there. And so it was just very relatable content. And I think that it helped a lot of people. So right now, we're doing something similar. We are building 2 bikes at the same time to review some stuff. They're kind of similar, but they're actually polar opposite. One's got more horsepower, let's just say. We're going to highlight the differences between these 2 types of builds because I got a stock bike, out of the box, nothing changed. Tor's doing a fully custom build. He's got a bunch of new parts that just came out that we're gonna use to test. So let's start showing them what we chose and why. So what do you got?
Yeah, so this is the new Stumpjumper 15. This is the alloy version. This is pretty much gonna be the do-it-all trail bike from Specialized. I think this is gonna be one of the more popular bikes in the next like 3 or 4 years. And it's got something special on it. It's this Genie shock, got a big air can. We're gonna pretty much tell you how it works. That's pretty much the whole deal. I've picked out a whole bunch of parts. You can see behind me, there is an absolute pile of parts over there that we are gonna be bolting up. Whereas Mike has everything he needs just in one box, which is pretty convenient.
Yeah, and in my box, I have a similar bike. Let me get it out of here. It's a little heavier. Throw out my back. This is a Specialized Levo. It's got some horsepower behind it. It's very similar to the Stumpjumper, kind of the do-it-all trail-ish, enduro-ish e-bike. Definitely the most popular e-bike out there. Tons of customers call us with questions about these things. So I wanted to pick the bike that's the most relatable. I want to take this e-bike and start using it for some content so that we can get a better feel on how different suspension platforms and tires and drivetrains and brakes feel on e-bikes, just because we haven't had an e-bike in here for a couple years. And so I think this is a good chance to build up the most popular e-bike on the trails and what's going to be the most popular trail bike on the trails.
Dude, you've already got a check engine light here.
Didn't know this had an engine. This is a gas-powered Levo. Let's start getting into some of the pros and cons of a stock versus a custom build, because there are quite a few. Yeah, the first thing I noticed is that I don't really have to do much. I just took it out and it's pretty much assembled, but you, my friend.
I don't even know. It's probably gonna take like 5 or 6 hours to build my bike. I mean, you're gonna be done in you can be done in 10, 15 minutes probably.
Yeah, you are starting from scratch.
First part, actually I should probably grease this, huh?
Yeah.
If the camera wasn't pointing at me, I may or may not grease this. If you just wanna be able to take your bike out of the box and go ride it, a stock build is just gonna save you so much time.
Besides the time it actually takes to build these bikes, there is also the time that you gotta kind of invest into the decision factor of what bike you're gonna buy or what type of bike you're gonna build. So me, I knew that I was going to get a Levo, and I had 2 options. I could have bought the frame only for X amount of dollars, or I could have got this thing, which was really not that much more, and it came with a full build of parts, which are all pretty dang decent. So I chose to go that route. Now Tor here, that's another story. You have some time invested into the deciding factor of all these parts, which is a little bit different than the general rider will do, because we're doing this for some content. Tor, what would you think is going to be the time commitment for a general rider to put into the deciding factor how many tabs they're gonna have open for a custom build?
Well, your Chrome browser is gonna crash a couple times because you got so many tabs open. That's a guarantee. I probably put a few hours into just figuring out what parts I wanted, doing some research on what parts would make sense on this Stumpjumper. It's a trail bike, so we're trying to stick with trail bike oriented parts. I say that when I've got a Zeb next to me and I've got Maven brakes, so maybe that's not totally true.
The way you ride though does warrant this. That's why a custom build, is good. You can kind of fine tune the bike to be, matched to your riding.
Totally. Yeah, but it definitely is a time commitment. I had at least 2 different Google spreadsheets files that I was using to compile everything I needed and figuring out all the part numbers and getting everything ordered. It just is not as convenient to do a full custom build. Where do I even start, dude? You gotta start somewhere. We're gonna start with the bottom bracket here. I chose this bottom bracket because I'm using a SRAM transmission. And so you gotta use the SRAM bottom bracket, just compatibility. Some choices aren't that hard to make. This one was pretty forced. Now we get to play the game of how many spacers do you put on your bottom bracket and which side?
7.5 on drive side, 3 mil on the non-drive side. If you type in SRAM bottom bracket chart on Google, it tells you what you need to do. Yeah. God!
Mark's in the video. What's up, guys? This is Mark.
Hello, everybody. I'm Mr. Found.
This is Mark. He works for SRAM.
Wait, so what did he say? 7.5 on drive side? Is this 7.5? Mark, how do I put this spacer on, dude? Do the spacers go, which side of the bottom bracket? Inside or outside? That's my right.
Right side?
Yeah, that's my right.
Yeah, you could probably even just pop that baby in there, Flip. 3 mil goes on that side. Assuming
On the outside?
you're using a T-type crankset.
Yeah, I am. Yeah.
Okay.
Cool. And then none of these guys.
None of those guys.
Perfect. See, if we didn't have Mark here, if we didn't have the source of knowledge itself, I would have been here all day trying to figure out my bottom bracket spacing.
20-minute chart visit.
Exactly.
I hate those charts. One thing about doing a custom build, sometimes when you don't do them all the time, there's new standards, new technology, and you're gonna have to learn it. So,
dude, I'm still an 11-speed guy. This whole transmission thing, I don't know how this works, man. I gotta learn a lot.
yeah, you've got all new chain line, a new literally derailleur mount, it doesn't mount like a normal derailleur on a normal derailleur hanger, and new spacer configurations on these bottom brackets for the chain line. So that's kind of a lot going on. Well, I technically have a motor on this thing, but if I just had a regular bike that was stock, I don't have to do any of that. I would have just had to put the pedals on and ride.
Are you almost done, Mike?
Well, Tor is figuring out his bottom bracket spacers. I'm going through all these fancy accessories of e-bikes. This is the first e-bike that we've had at the shop since 2018, 2019. You were almost embarrassed to own one because it was kind of stigmatized at the time. So now they're very accepted. So I'm happy to test these out again with a breath of fresh air. So, oh man, one of the pros about a custom build, it doesn't come with the infamous dork disc. God, it's annoying. It does a little dorky. Industry term or not, it's dorky. And that comes because if the chain shifts over the physically largest cog on the cassette, then it'll go into your spokes and rip some stuff up and give you quite a frown on your face. Okay.
I got the official packaging for my brakes. Very official.
Let's talk about the pros of a custom bike build. Tor, what are the first pros?
I mean, the number one thing is you get the exact parts that you want. Every single part that's going on my bike, while I might not have ridden it before, it's exactly what I want to be riding and it's what I'm most excited to run. Whereas if I were to get a stock build, there's definitely gonna be things that I would instantly switch out. Maybe I don't like the tires on it, maybe I want to run a different shock, something like that. Whereas on my bike, I'm getting exactly what I want.
The other thing that is a pro on a custom build is that there's technically more build quality QC if you are experienced. This could be a con, but if you are very familiar with putting bikes together and wrenching on bikes, then man, you really can't beat just doing everything yourself and knowing exactly where all the grease was, how much grease is in there.
I've never greased my pedal threads, I don't think ever.
You know that your torque wrench was used on everything.
G&T, good and tight.
This bike right here was probably assembled in a factory with, I don't know, what scale are we talking? 30,000 the same year? 40,000? I don't even know, a lot more. So they could miss some things, and that is potentially a negative of the stock bike is some less build quality, but it's gotten pretty good over the years and you don't really have to change a ton.
When bike companies are putting together these stock builds, they're able to buy 1 trillion drivetrains at once and save a little money doing it. They pass on a little bit of savings to the consumer. And so generally it's about 10%-ish more expensive to do a fully custom build. So yeah, that's another thing to consider.
What do you think? Custom bike build or stock build?
I am a big fan of stock build with tasteful upgrades. You get a couple rides on it, you feel what it's missing, and then you head on over to losco.com or maybe call one of our experts.
Oh yeah.
And they can walk you through a list of tasteful upgrades.
Maybe put your touch on it.
Yeah.
Yeah. The next pro of a custom build is that it is cool and quote unquote fun, which is what we've got in focus right now. There's no denying the cool factor. I mean, you get to load the bike onto your car and unload at the trailhead, show your buddies, and it is the custom bike. The word custom, it's definitely italicized no matter what the context is, and you can't really beat that.
Dude, what are you doing, Mike?
Gotta rip this thing open. That was the hardest part about this, is just getting the seat out of this cardboard. All right, one of the other things I'm noticing is that I've never tried the saddle, so I'm actually pretty excited to try it and see if it's comfortable, because I do have a tried and true Specialized saddle on my Stumpjumper Evo that I may or may not take off, put on this bike, but we'll see, we'll see. This is an X-Fusion Matic seat post. I haven't had one of these in my hand, I don't think ever. This is the longest actuator I have ever seen. This is like a steampunk actuator. You can see the linkage and stuff. There's a spring on it. One thing I just noticed while breaking into this seat also is that it's a 150 mil dropper post. I didn't actually look at this on the build list on the Specialized website, so that's not long enough. I definitely need at least a 170, 175, 180. So, I mean, I'm gonna ride it, see how it goes, but not overly excited about that.
Okay, I already have to undo what I did. Dude, I already have to uninstall the only part that I've put in right now.
What'd you do? What happened?
I have to route my seat post cable, and I have to take my bottom bracket out to do that. So I have to undo the only thing that I've done so far.
Oh my gosh.
How many boxes can a guy have? Dude, I swear I just had this cable a second ago. Oh, it's in here, it's in here, it's in here.
The heck is this? Is this the cable? Is this a housing? The housing is like super thin. No.
This dropper post cable is also really thin. Dude, new standard just dropped.
Wait, you got one too?
Yeah, this came with the bike.
What the heck is this?
It's super thin. Number one reason to buy a stock bike, you don't have to do internal cable routing. This is so annoying.
That is way too long. All right, Tor over there is having some complications on running internal routing because it's kind of just annoying. But I am also running into that because this housing is way too long on this complete bike. So I'm gonna kind of have to do the same thing. I'm not gonna fully take it out of the bike, but I am gonna have to take some measurements on the dropper post insertion length and cut down this housing so it's not so gosh dang long.
Dude, I think I actually have to undo the other only step that I've done.
Oh my God,
and take this dropper post out. This is like a window blind tool. I just have to clear this one little hole. Actually, I'm not even sure how to do this. See, Mike, when I was talking about unforeseen issues when building bikes, this is what I was talking about. Yeah. Let's be super clear. We are not the mechanics at Losco. We leave that to the professionals. If you bring your bike to Losco, don't worry. We are not working on it.
This is old school. I thought we were past this. I thought that we legalized dropper posts that pinch at the bottom of the dropper.
Yeah, I thought we voted on that.
I thought we voted on that.
Look at that action.
Dropper post is finally hooked up. Now, well, kind of bigger things start going on, like the front wheel, and I'll start running the front brake and get all that together. If you are a newer rider and you order direct to consumer and you get a complete bike out of the box delivered to your door, you kind of just have to deal with learning this stuff on the fly. I could see putting a bike together like this for a first timer taking maybe a solid evening, a few hours for sure, and not necessarily feeling super confident in the final build quality if it's their first time. But that same thing's gonna apply to someone doing a custom build, actually amplified quite a bit. Look at him, he's got the instruction manual out right now, and that's what we like to see.
762.5 millimeters. And that's another thing about doing a custom build is you need all of the fancy tools, like a vise and a little bar clamp holder and a saw. You might not have that, so yeah. We're in a shop, obviously, so we can just do it all here, but that's something to consider if you're, doing it on your own in the basement, after work, so.
You could use a more simple setup if you're at home, like a tubing cutter. Those work pretty good. I'm actually a big fan of those myself. I don't know why, I've just been using them forever, but you need a ton of tools to do a full custom build. I've basically just used like a side cut to get all the packaging off and 2 Allen keys to get to where I'm at so far. I will need a cassette tool to pull the cassette off to get that plastic guard off. But that's basically it. But that turns into a pro as well. If you do a custom build and you kind of invest yourself and your dollars into a bunch of tools, then you have those tools for kind of the rest of your life. I mean, most of these like park tools are pretty robust and they'll last a long time. So flip that right into a pro for the custom build. Tor puts the Tor in torque.
G&T, good and tight. Mandatory free hub, check. Wow, now that's custom.
All right, we've been working on our bikes for, I don't know, maybe about an hour or so, and Tor's definitely catching up to me. I kind of have to backtrack through some of the things that they do stock out of the box, and that is like, I have to set up tubeless still. I'm an idiot, I put the back wheel back in for some reason. I gotta take the tires off, set those up tubeless, and just kind of like finding all the little bits and bobs in this box has been a little bit difficult. I actually couldn't find this guy for like 30 minutes to hold the hose onto the fork, and just running like all the e-bike wires and stuff. So yeah, I think Tor's gonna probably catch up pretty quick here soon.
Fire the hole. It's just something different. It's the radial tire, and so the construction of the casing is a little different. Instead of the threads all crossing perpendicularly, they cross more at an angle. And so it's like, the idea is that it deforms to rocks better and gives you more grip. Yeah, I don't know how it's gonna ride, so we're just gonna try it out, try something new. That's one of the reasons we're doing this whole custom build, is to put just a bunch of new parts on it that we haven't ridden. You know, I've got carbon wheels. I haven't ridden carbon wheels in, I have no clue how long. I think I rode some like really crappy ones back in like 2018 that just like broke a bunch. So hopefully these ones don't do that, and hopefully these tires are sick, and I'll let you know.
If there's one thing that I think might fail first on this build, it's gonna be this rear wheel or the hub. I see a lot of people on Facebook groups having problems with like the comp Roval hubs, so hopefully this thing lasts a while, but only time will tell.
The transmission is spring-loaded and will return to the cage open position rapidly.
What?
The derailleur is spring-loaded.
Okay, hold on, I missed a step.
Hard.
Wrap this guy through.
Woo! It works. I don't know, maybe like an hour and 20 minutes of taking my time, and it looks like a bike. I gotta do a couple kind of finishing up tasks to make it my own. But other than that, I'm about ready to go. I even got it plugged in. You got yours plugged in?
I did charge my derailleur battery yesterday, so.
Okay, so right now, Tor is in the middle of kind of doing one of those things we were talking about before, where like standards change and you have to like kind of learn what you're doing as you go, because the bike's not assembled. This is a SRAM transmission, which has a very specific method of, you know, assembly and getting it all dialed in. Yeah, even though it's really easy, you kind of have to watch those steps. So he's been going back and forth between the computer. This is a good glimpse behind the scenes of what it takes to get a custom built bike built up. And we're gonna kind of be racing against the clock to get this thing assembled by the end of the day. So yeah, it takes a good amount of time.
Totally, I think I got my transmission set up, I think.
Hey.
It's set, it's shifting, pretty good.
All right, so what do you have left?
That's it, I'm done.
You okay?
No, I do brakes, dropper pose. I left like the two hardest things for last.
That's good.
Yeah.
It's nice to be able to stand it up with the two wheels
Do the dropper post
and
that
kind of
way.
get the dropper post and
Totally,
stuff done.
totally,
Yeah, so
totally.
that's nice.
But the brakes are the hardest part.
Yeah.
For sure.
Would you say you have a method to your madness, or are you kind of just
I just go crazy.
Going for it.
I just go crazy, kind of lose myself, and then I come back and the bike's done.
all right?
Yeah. I've never greased my pedal threads. I don't think ever.
Ever?
No.
Dude.
Just pedals, dude. Like take them off all the time, bro. Never had an issue. Oh, Adam's coming out of the woodwork to make a comment, dude. Oh, Adam's got something to say. Everyone's got something to say about the pedals.
You're stressing us out, Tor.
All right, Peanut Gallery, everyone relax.
Adam's calling for your removal from the set.
Put forth motion number one.
Removal from the set. Do you guys grease your axles?
Yeah, dude.
Really?
I am officially sitting on my new bike. It didn't take very long, and yeah, maybe I still have to just like set up my suspension and fine tune it, but other than that, I am good to go. I didn't check my air pressure yet. That's just gonna take me another minute, but Tor over there is, what are you doing?
Didn't even come with brake pads in it. So I gotta install brake pads. I'm doing the brakes now. Save the worst for last. It would be sick to be done right now, but it looks like a bike at this point. It doesn't look too far off, but I still have to do all the brakes and the dropper post, and those are like the two most frustrating parts. So I'm definitely like still an hour or two out. It would be sick to be able to just go ride right now, but that's not the case.
All right, we stopped working on the bikes on Friday. Tor actually ran out of time, and now we're back at the shop on Monday. Tor, how's it going so far?
It's been like 98% super easy, and then the last 2% has been such a pain in the butt. There's like this hard plastic, basically sleeve that runs through the frame, this one right here. And it was too long, the dropper post was like hitting it, so we had to pull it out, cut it, and it's just, you just run into these headaches when you're building bikes, especially fully custom. This didn't happen on Mike's bike, this wouldn't happen if you have a fully built bike, so another thing to consider, for sure.
Yeah, and even though this hard plastic tube is like specific to this Stumpjumper frame, there's just always something that you run into that you don't foresee. And it's always gonna take a couple days. So this whole like not being able to finish the custom build day, even though we're in a bike shop with inventory of, or shelves covered in inventory, like just something always happens. All right, everybody, fast forward to about 2 weeks after we got these bikes built. We've been riding the heck out of them and trying to see if we're happy with our decisions. Custom build, stock build, what's next?
We're just gonna ride them. We're out here at Galbraith and we're gonna ride some of our favorite trails, show you where we've been riding them and talk about our thoughts. Let's get into it. That's pretty sick. You see the big, the triple mic?
No.
You land here?
Oh boy. Can I boost mode into it or what?
Yeah, I think if you get it in boost mode, it goes there for you.
Did you do it?
Yeah. This bike doesn't like it, but it'll get you there.
Ah! Oh my God! Now that was a bottom out, folks. Woo! Dude, I was in the air and I was like, this is gonna hurt, and my left wrist hurts a little bit. I got most of the way. All right, weird trail triples where you have to pedal into. Custom bike, should you have gone more travel?
Yeah, I should have put a custom link on. I gone to 190 or something.
190 Stumpjumper. Yeah, that one shows me I need a little bit more fine tuning on my suspension, but that's all a part of it, so.
I maxed out.
Okay, I'll go first because I think more commonly people buy a stock bike. I have had plenty of custom bikes over the years, just being in my position as a bike shop owner. And so this is actually the first stock out of the box bike that I've ridden in a few years. And I gotta say, I am like pretty surprisingly happy with this thing, how it's set up. I remember maybe 2015 was like maybe the last stock bike that I had, and bikes were coming in with pretty flimsy tires, you know, lackluster brakes, lackluster drivetrain, just nothing was really what made me truly happy on my bike and the money that I spent. But I gotta say, nowadays, I think that's changed a bit, and I have kind of just a couple of frequently changed upgrades that I've done, and so I'll explain that. First up, I changed out the grips just because I felt like I wasn't riding my bike. I felt like I was like borrowing somebody's bike. The stock grips weren't cutting it for me. Tor and everyone else at the shop actually liked them. And also these grips, I can feel like they do not feel very grippy.
Dude, these are actually kind of sick.
They're okay.
I don't mind
They're
these.
just not they don't have enough texture. I just didn't like them. They didn't have enough texture for me. That's pretty common. Most people will change out something like pedals or grips to make it feel more like their own bike. Obviously, I've got my clip pedals in here, which I haven't had an e-bike in a couple years, and when I last did, I was on flats, and I gotta say, clipping in to an e-bike is so nice because you can just maneuver the bike and pick up the back end, which is heavier. That's like the best thing ever. Anyway, pedals, grips, I felt like I was riding my bike. Kind of wishing though I got to try some new cool stuff like those tires and whatnot. So Tor, take it over. How are you doing with the custom bike?
Unsurprisingly, I am a huge fan of this build. You know, obviously I got to choose everything myself after having a lot of years of riding a lot of different parts, especially in my current position. I get to try out a bunch of the best parts in the business, and so I get to kind of cherry pick what I do like, what I don't like. This is pretty much an amalgamation of parts that I like. The Stumpjumper platform is the shortest travel bike that I've ridden in the last like 5 or 6 years, and it is so fun. This thing is so snappy and quick and lively, even though it's got like a big 38 on the front, 38 mil stanchion fork on the front, and like, you know, thick tires. It's still a super fun and snappy bike. It continues to be just like a good platform of bike. I think a lot of people are gonna really enjoy this platform. We did put the big Zeb on it instead of the smaller stanchion forks that come on a stock build. That's something that I really prefer. I used to race a bunch of enduro, I do a bunch of downhill racing, and I just like a bike that feels a little more solid when I'm hitting stuff. It's not gonna like get knocked offline as much or, you know, anything like that. And so I find that the larger stanchion fork works for me really well. Yeah, so we went ahead and put that on there. That's something you wouldn't get on a stock build. And I know a lot of people who get a 36 are looking to upgrade to a 38. And so, you know, we saved ourselves the time and money of upgrading it to, you know,
or
just
in this
right
case,
off the bat.
a Lyric to a Zeb.
Exactly, yeah.
I'm adding a little hydraulic bottom out. I swapped this coil shock on to my stock bike because I had it laying around. This is something I wanted to mention. I have a coil shock on this bike. I didn't feel the need to do it. I thought that the stock Float X performance shock, it was performing totally fine. I was happy with it. However, my other bike, Specialized Stumpjumper Evo, which is basically the non-e-bike version of the Levo, I have a couple shocks because we did some videos and I, kind of just pulled some parts off that bike. And that is something that might come up. If you have a stock build and you have other bikes, you might feel like you start to kind of cannibalize the other bike to put parts on your new bike to set it up because you have that new bike stoke. This bike is new to me and it's new and shiny and fun. So I've just been riding this thing a bunch and I started kind of taking some parts off. And yeah, coil shock feels good. Honestly, I was just happy with the stock shock though. If I didn't have that laying around, I probably would have kept it on. Brakes, I'm happy with. I don't need to change anything. The drivetrain's fine. We'll see how long it lasts with this e-bike. I'm cranking this thing uphill pretty hard. But I've got my eyes on some of the parts that Tor has, especially I mentioned before when I was building the bike, I'm probably gonna put a set of carbon bars on this. I think these ride just a little stiff. They're like the stock Specialized bar, and I'm just so used to a carbon bar. And again, just making it feel like my own bike. And carbon bar is pretty much what I'm gonna do. I don't think I'm really gonna change much else unless we do some other videos and I'm testing stuff.
Number one argument for not getting an e-bike, where there would be a battery, this is my battery.
This is the analog battery. It keeps me going. This is my favorite mod I've done on the custom bike is installing a burrito.
Yeah, I kind of wish I had a burrito, but with the e-bike, I could eat like 3 burritos and then just turbo my way up the hill, so
Doing a custom build it's just expensive. There's no two ways around it. There's definitely ways to hunt around online and find deals if you're willing to like stockpile parts for months. And if it's gonna take forever, you wanna like find deals where you can. I understand, like that's totally like a great way to do it. But if you're paying MSRP for this bike, it is like within $100 of that carbon fiber e-bike. And this is an aluminum normal bike. So I don't know, you guys can see where I'm losing the value there. But that being said, this thing is just a joy to ride, honestly. There's nothing on it that I would change out, and I will probably keep doing custom builds in the future. And there's nothing like having a bike that is completely your own.
The next thing, kind of a big thing, well, in this case, is a big thing. I swapped out the dropper post. So this thing is an S3, so like a medium, and came with a 150 dropper post. I'm always gonna ride a 175-ish and up dropper in my medium DaVinci Enduro bike. I have a 210 mil one-up, and with this bike, I could fit a 175 Fox Transfer Post Neo. Yes, this is like a $800-something dropper post. I just happen to have it. If I didn't have this laying on the shelf from my previous bike, I would have just put a 181 up in it for like 260 bucks or so, and I would have just called it a day and been perfectly fine. That is really the main change that I wanted and felt like I needed. We're riding steep stuff out here, and man, on a stock bike, without my choice, a 150, that's just not cutting it for me. I felt like it was just, kind of just smacking my butt a lot on the descents, and so I needed to swap that out for something longer, so that's what I did. However, most of the time spent on this is just purely setting it up. It's a new bike to me, so changing volume spacers and air pressure is really the name of the game. When you get a new bike, you gotta set it up custom or stock, and I truly feel like after talking to people on the phone all the time, I feel like not enough people are just spending the time to set up what they have, so I feel like everything's pretty dialed. So after riding it for a bit and, looking back, it took you, more time. There were some minor migraines to building the custom bike, some little pieces that you needed to just like put together, all the, planning and ordering of all the different parts. Would you say you're happy over a stock bike?
Yeah, absolutely. I love being a little more intimately involved with the bike. We're just gonna leave that in. No, I think it's super important to just be more aware of how your bike goes together, so that when something does go wrong on the trails, you're more equipped to fix it. You understand how everything went back together, and so you're not scared to wrench on it. And so that's also something that I've gained experience with wrenching on other bikes in the past, and I'm confident enough to build myself a bike. I know some people are newer riders. It's intimidating to build a whole bike. Sometimes you don't have the tools or the skills you need to make it happen. Yeah, I think overall it is worth it, the time that I've invested to building this bike, to just have, a deeper understanding of the bike and all the parts that are on it. And yeah, I'm really pleased with it.
I think that comes down to one bottom line, and it's really experience. We are riding bikes all the time. It is our profession, and yeah, we have parts laying around. We have parts that we've ridden, we've tried, we know what we like and what we don't like. But I gotta say, for like the 90% of riders out there, just going out to have fun and get out, get some exercise, get out in the woods and play around the trails, giggle a little bit here and there. I think a stock bike right off the floor is totally fine, and then just make some upgrades as you go or as you break stuff. As you get better at riding, you're gonna start putting more wear and tear on bikes and making some, you know, nice upgrades to just more appropriately fit you and your riding style is probably the best way to go.
That was crazy, Mike.
Yeah, I probably wouldn't have switched out anything if this was like my first or second bike, to be honest. And yeah, if it's your first or second bike, I would be not so eager to recommend doing a custom build to newer riders, because the internet is a crazy place and you might be talked into buying some parts that probably are outside of your budget and might not be the right thing for you. So take the internet with a grain of salt. Honestly, I hate to plug us in this way, but call us 360-306-8827. Put that on the screen. We are pretty neutral. We've ridden a bunch of stuff. We understand there's different riding dynamics and different terrain that everyone rides with their bikes. Just let us know what you're trying to do, and we'll let you know what is probably best for your riding and your wallet.
Thanks for watching, guys. This has been, our experience with a stock bike versus a custom bike. Hit the subscribe button if you want to see more videos like this on these bikes coming soon to you in the future.
And if you just bought a stock bike and you're looking to do some upgrades, or you're looking to build up a custom bike, hit us up at thelostco.com. Put our email and phone here on the screen so you guys can contact us, and we'll give you some opinions on what we recommend for you. So until next time, yeah, we're gonna keep riding these and experimenting with some parts and making some more videos. So we'll see you next time.